All right, so it's been a while. We're starting up because I haven't done one since January. This is episode 5, I think, of this podcast. And I did a little intro. I do an intro for everybody.
Nice.
But yours is a little, you have a little bit more history. So we got Golden Glove Boxer from the mean streets of Santa Maria.
Long time ago.
Housing projects back in the day when it was the housing projects. I don't really hear anything going on with the housing projects.
Green Acres.
Yep. Some people love him, and some people love to hate him. He used to have haters. I don't think so anymore.
Still do.
If you grew up in Santa Maria, he's either knocked out your dad, uncle, or brother. This is the last of a dying breed, Franky Maycotte.
Not proud of that.
Not proud. But you know what? I would say
It's just been part of the journey.
yeah, dude. And before we start, I have a question because obviously I'm related to you, and I've seen you and I've known you all my life. But why? Like, out of all my cousins, your siblings, you're like the down. No disrespect to any of my cousins, but you're like the down one. How come no one else is like that? Like, you guys all grew up together.
We just kind of, we all grew up
Same-
in the same
everything.
house. And then, my brother Chris was always
He's
kind of crazy, but
in a
he
different
was
way.
crazy until somebody crazy checked him. And then he wasn't crazy no more, you know? And then it's like, but
Because like
I think it's kind of the paths you take in life and what you've gone through. I was always, even though I'm the second to the youngest out of 8 of us, I was always kind of the big brother in the family since I was like, I remember in elementary, like I used to have to make sure nobody was picking on Joey, and he was my older brother, and I was the one defending him. And I started boxing when I was in the 4th grade. So by the 4th, 5th grade, I was already
you're used to fighting,
trying that stuff on people at school, like, and usually it was because Joey was getting picked on, and he was just a quiet guy, and he was getting, and I remember I would have to defend him, and then I would have to defend my little brother against Joey.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they used to make me and Joey fight, typical Mexican family shit, like,
especially being from the hood, huh?
he said he could kick your ass. No, he said, oh, you can? Oh, and then next thing you know, boom, they would egg us on to
fight.
He knocked my first tooth out in the front yard of the project.
What?
From egging on a fight like that. I remember it wasn't due to come out for a couple years, but
dude, that's crazy. he could always say that.
Yeah.
I would.
And then he started going to the boxing gym with me as kids. When we were kids, he was going to the gym with me, but it just wasn't him.
Yeah.
It's easy to tell once you get in the ring and you spar. It's either for you or you're not. Like, either you want some more of that because you're going to get that guy back because he got you, or
you're like nah, he hit me
that
hard, I'm
hurt,
good.
and he hit me in my nose, and they're like, oh, you're crying? Like, no, because he hit me in my nose, my eyes are watering. Like, okay, maybe boxing's not for you,
It isn't a good feeling though.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but
you like to just get him back.
I feel like I'm kind of telling you the story, but I mean, you're a pretty good way to tell a story without fact checking because you know me my whole life, so you know if I'm bullshitting or not, right?
Yeah,
but
no.
We grew up in the projects, and fighting was a daily walk of life. Like, if you disagreed with somebody on something, you fought, and whoever won was right, and that was just
that's how it's handled.
Kind of how it handled. And then, I think now looking back, I think I was always not eager, I shouldn't say eager, but I would punch somebody quick. Like, I was always quick to fight because I felt like people were judging me because of where I came from or whatever, and I just felt like if I could beat you up, I can fucking equal level myself with you. Like, if you can't talk to me like that or look down on me if I can beat you up. Yeah. So, like,
it doesn't matter if you had a better upbringing, I could still kick
you got
your
more
ass.
money, you got a nice car, you got a nicer chick, I'll still kick your ass, dude. So you better like. And I mean, it was a complete wrong way to do stuff now looking back, but it was the only way I knew how to do it. It was, And then at the gym, I've been in boxing since I was a kid. So the people that were coming in and out of the gym, there was only a few of us that went and stayed for years.
Yeah.
And so even at the gym, like the kids that would come my age, I could always beat them because I'd been there so long and I had so many more fights than all of them, experience. Yeah. So I don't know, that kind of carried into the streets. And then when you're boxing at 8 or 9, I was already fighting once a month at the Manami Center. And then I used to have that recreation center in the Pomo.
I went to one of those fights.
And just hear local shows. They used to have them at the tennis courts. We would have them the gun club. He had a bunch of different places, but we would.
It was bigger back then, huh?
And so everybody knew when you were a kid, like, oh, he's a boxer. You know, he boxes.
And especially where you're from and how you grew up, and then that culture. If somebody says, "Oh, that's Frankie, he's a boxer," someone out there is like, "I'll kick his ass," and so they challenge you.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like it ends up turning into like this ripple effect, right?
Where as you get older, and then you run into the tougher guys, like in life, like the guys that, you know, like, well, you're a boxer. I don't care. I'll kick your ass. You know, like, wait a minute. We don't even know each other, bro. We don't.
Yeah.
I think I told you about that time I walked into Rancho Bowl and the guy was like,
yeah,
well, I want to go around with you. And I'm like, I just walked in here. Like,
that happened to us.
I've never met you in my life. Like, what do you want to go around with me for? He's like, I want, because I can take you. I know you're a boxer, but I think I could take you. I'm like, bro, I don't want to fight.
I think I was there that night.
Walked in here and then I ended up beating him.
Oh, no, I was there that night.
Hit him with a jab, and then the guy fell. And I'm like, oh, really, dude? Like, you want to start a fight and you're going to fall after a jab? Like, but yeah, that's kind of been, dude. But these days, you know, that's not me no more, man. If anything, I run into people here and there that I did do wrong, or I, you know, probably beat up and they didn't deserve it or whatever. We had an issue. And I try to go out of my way to apologize to those people. Like, look, man, the other day I go to the gym in the morning, you know, after I drop my kid off at school, and there was a guy outside painting the building. And I remembered he was arguing with one of my buddies, Icha, outside of the Red Eye.
Oh, yeah.
What was that? Before it was Moretti's back in the day.
Oh, I remember when it was Moretti's.
No, it was something, anyway, it was some bar there. And he was fighting in the back. And when I went around to the back to go make sure he wasn't getting jumped or something, him and the guy were arguing, and I just socked the guy and knocked the guy out. He ended up leaving in the hospital. And I never seen the guy again. And I seen him at the gym 25 years later or whatever, 20 years later. And I'm like, dude, I got to apologize to that guy. He didn't have that coming, man.
Yeah, he didn't even know.
So I get off, and I'm like, hey, you know, bro, I haven't seen you for a long time. And I apologize, man. That wasn't me. I mean, I was a stupid kid, and I apologize for it. But
he was cool.
Yeah, he was accepting of it and stuff. And then I ran into other guys where I had a guy come buy a car off of me before in my office.
Yeah,
walked in. I always go in there and greet. You know, he's in the F&I office signing his paperwork, and I walk in. Hey, my name's Maycotte. And I always like, oh, here, let me get my grass card. I'm gonna fill the car up for you or whatever. Fill your tank up. And the guy walked up and he says, "There's a white guy." He goes, "You own this place?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm not buying a car. Forget this. Cancel all that paper." I'm like, "Whoa, what happened? What's going on?" He's like, "You used to freaking torture me in Los Pretos Boys Camp." And I'm like, "I don't even remember you, bro. I have no idea who you are."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I was in Los Pretos Boys Camp with you, and you guys used to torture me and bully me and this and that." And I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, it felt bad. Like, that's when after that happened, that was probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like decided, you know what? From now on, when I run into people that I've done that and they didn't deserve it, don't get me wrong. If you fucked my family or something, I went after
Some
you.
people did deserve it.
I don't feel sorry for that. Like, I'm not sorry, but, you know, but for the most part, 90% of them, like, I truly am sorry I did that. Like, most people didn't deserve that. I was just out there with a chip on my shoulder, trying to prove a point or something, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, I think that's good too. It's good for yourself, you know, so you feel good about it, and then obviously, you know, I'm sure that guy that was painting that building remembered that day, and I bet you now he sees you in a whole different light. Like, dude, that guy's cool. But I remember I think I want to start from the beginning. We don't have to say what year you were born, but we could say where did you when you were born and you were a kid, where did you live?
The projects.
The projects.
Yeah, so I was born in Marion Hospital, and then we went home to the projects, and we lived there until I was in the 4th grade. Okay. We got evicted from the projects. Imagine that.
Yeah, right?
Who gets evicted from the projects?
Get evicted from government living, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we ended up not being able to find a place to live or whatever. We ended up moving to Tanglewood. So we lived in Tanglewood for like a year. And then we ended up homeless from about 4th grade. I can remember his grades. I don't remember how old I was at the time.
Yeah.
But I remember I was in about the 4th grade. And then we stayed homeless until I was about 12, about 4 years. And then my mom got one little studio place. And I was already about 12 is when I moved out. I started living with Armando, Julie's husband, my sister's husband. And I was just kind of a product of the streets. I was just out there figuring it out. And then at 15, you know, started running the streets and doing what kids do in the streets and doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
And then I got my mom a place because at that point she was living with a friend or something.
I remember she lived on Main Street across from La Jolla.
Yeah, that's the place.
That's the place. Yeah, hey, dude, you had a clean. Remember that Nissan you had back then?
Ultima.
Or Ultima, yeah.
Maxima.
Yeah, dude, that thing was
back in the day.
That thing was pimp.
I was 16 and I had that.
You were 16 then?
I had a Maxima. I had a El Camino. I had that IROC Camaro.
Oh, yeah.
And I had my 65 convertible Impala, remember?
I remember, because obviously I remember that. And then I remember, obviously we always lived on Courier. And then you guys ended up moving to Orange Street.
Mm-hmm. We lived right next to you guys on Courier for a long time. You probably don't remember.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. So you guys lived in the apartments and we lived in that red house on the corner of Thornburg and Cypress. The red house.
Oh, yeah, the haunted house.
Red house, yeah.
Yeah. Is it really haunted?
It's crazy. I mean...
I
never saw.
There's a lot of stone people in there.
I remember one time, like, we left a cassette tape was left in the sun, and you remember what happened with those cassette tapes? If you leave them in the sun, they were like, like it sounded, and they swore that it was ghost that had, and they even
my mom.
Mom's
quick to believe it.
Yeah, my mom too. They'll bite on that stuff.
Hell yeah, they're like,
and they were like almost had us convinced. Like matter of fact, they did have us convinced that there was ghost, and some ghosts did that. But now looking back at it. There's no freaking ghost. They put a cassette in the sun and it warped. And that's what happened.
It was talking to us in tongues.
Yeah.
So I remember, I guess my earliest memories was my tia living on Orange Street, in the little small house first. Okay. And I remember you rolling around in your 65, flashy. You know, you were like the guy to be, dude. And I feel like in our neighborhood, especially during that time, it was the 90s, it was violent. I mean, but I feel like my family or the people that were considered cousins, we still consider them cousins today, they were like the people we had to worry about. So I didn't have nothing to worry about because I was basically safe because they were the ones that ran the block. But I feel like out of all these dangerous people, friends that I've seen their dads fight cops and this and that, all kinds of crazy people. But it was just, when you came through, it was like, the boss is here. I don't know. I feel like you were just like, everybody was afraid of you. I feel like.
I was little. I don't get it. Too,
and then,
man.
I'm not a
big guy, you know?
Yeah. But I think you were just like fearless. And then you had the badass car. You obviously had money. And it was just like, and then you were never a gangster.
Yeah.
You were never a gang member, huh?
You know, I grew up in the projects. Typically grew up from Northwest. Yeah. Because that's where we grew up and that's all our friends and that's our neighborhood and that's where we grew up kind of that's where everybody asked you where you from the projects. But I never got a tattoo. I never got an ear piercing.
Yeah.
I went to all the places where I should have got all that stuff because I did get in trouble as a kid and I did all that freaking boys camp and youth authority and all that stupid stuff. But
why didn't you ever get tattoos? I always wondered.
One time I was gonna get one and I already had the pattern made out and everything. And there was an older guy there. He was about 5 years older than me. And he says, look, man, don't do it. You're clean. You could change your whole life and you won't even have nothing. And he was an older guy and he talked me out of it.
Yeah.
And his name was Woody. I remember he was from 18th Street.
Oh, he's a gangster himself.
Yeah. And he was a gangster dude. Like, he had tats on his face, his whole body, everything. And he just was like, don't do it. He's like, if you ask anybody here if they could go back and take their tattoos off and start from clean, every single person would tell you, yeah. And the ones that don't are idiots. And he was kind of right. He's like, kid, you're not going to come back here, man. You don't belong here. You're a sharp kid. And he kind of talked me out of it. And I'm like, he goes, just do me this one favor. If you're going to do it, go ahead and get a tattoo. Go ahead and do it. But wait till you get home to do it. Go do it when you get home. And obviously I was in a placement when that was happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I'm like, those things probably freaking hurt, dude. I'm going to sit there and go through all that torture to get something I end up regretting. Like,
yeah.
And then, you know me, my kids are my life. Like,
yeah.
I want to make sure that my kids, I lived nothing of what I saw. Like,
yeah.
And I got some older kids already, and I've been pretty successful at that. My kids are
everybody's
all
chilling.
went through private schools in St. Joe's and Cal Poly, and they're all doing good and well. And I just figured, man, I can't sit here and say I don't want none of you guys to get tattoos, and not only that, I didn't want to be the dad that was at the pool with them, with Northwest on my chest and Santa Maria Trece. I'm like, no, man, I don't want to.
In hindsight, now looking back, it wouldn't even match you.
Yeah,
maybe at that time it did, but now it wouldn't even match you.
And somehow, God works in mysterious ways, I guess, because somehow I never got them. It was never like something I wanted to do. And even now I look at, even now when I have like nephews or anybody trying to get tattoos, I try to talk them out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to regret it. Yeah. Someday you're going to regret that shit, but who knows? I mean,
I feel the same way. I don't have any either, but I just feel like I love the artistry of tattoos. You know, you look at someone's tattoos if they're done right. But I don't, personally, I'm like, I don't know what I would want.
I just don't like the fact that
and plus
forever,
man. It's going to hurt.
I don't like, you just don't get to change your mind about them.
No, it's over.
And show me one thing you ever bought or did that you never changed your mind about. Like your car, you want another one in a couple months, it's just, I don't know.
And they say it hurts more to take it off.
Yeah, no. And then you end up with some ugly scar.
Yeah.
My theory was always all like, dude, these guys get tattoos because they're trying to portray an image and like be, like they want to be feared, or I don't have to do that, man. Like, you bring me your biggest tattooed guy and I'll kick his fucking ass. Like, that shit doesn't intimidate me, man. I'm not impressed by tattoos because, a lot of times you see guys tough guys they get a Harley and they get some tattoos and now they're tough guys. I'm like, no, you're not tough. I went to elementary and junior high. You've never been in a fight in your life, dude. Yeah. You bought a leather jacket and bought a motorcycle.
Grow your mustache.
You're not tough, man. Like,
yeah.
But people, it's just this, I don't know. I think it's like a fad. Like, right now everybody wants to be bikers and, I think too Cholo's now, kind of like a lesser thing now. Even the Cholos are kind of like these new age Cholos. Like,
they don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, they wear like baggy clothes. Like, I guess Cholos always wear baggy clothes, but they wear a different type of.
They're like Edgars. They got the certain type of haircut. I mean, I have some friends that work at.
But they're still crazy. I mean,
they're down.
And you know what's the crazy part is it's the second generation. Like, it's like the Oaxaca Mixtecos, the Guerrero Mixtecos, that their parents are Mexican, but they're first generation Americans. Yeah. Those are the ones that are like out here creating all that crazy havoc, man. And in our day, that wasn't the case. It was America. It was like Chicanos doing it.
Yeah.
But it's a different. I think it's a little different aspect.
So what do you? Okay, so you grew up in the project. You were homeless. I know that I didn't know that you were 16 when my Theo was living there and I didn't know you got out of the house.
15,
15. What was it about you that made you? Because obviously you're an entrepreneur now. And did you always have that in you? You always wanted to be your own boss?
Oh yeah. I now looking back, I never realized it, but I don't know where it came from because there's 8 of us, and somehow I'm the one that came out to do that. But I remember when Thrifties was in the projects, I used to show up and tell the guy I would scrape gum off of the sidewalk for $1, and my friends would walk by and make fun of me. Oh, but later on, when I had the $1, they all wanted to be my friend again, and I was like, yeah, you guys. I started figuring something out there, And then I remember my neighbor Gustavo Figueroa, rest in peace, is one of my best friends as a kid. He got killed here a while back, but he had a push lawnmower. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff. We didn't have freaking nothing. So he would let me use it. And I remember I figured out that if I walked up to people, because I started going up to people's door and asking them for $1 to mow their lawn. And the projects, you had like a little patch of lawn in front of your glass. And then I remember figuring out that if I didn't ask them, if I told them I would do it for free, they were giving me more money than if I walked up and tried to charge $1. And I was probably the second grade at the time. So I was just a kid, but I remember figuring out like, I'm just going to tell them, no, I'll just do it for free. Just give me some water to drink. And then they would come out and give me $2 or $3 versus, will you do this for $1? Yeah, here's your $1. And so like looking back in it, my entrepreneur spirit, I guess, has always kind of been there.
Yeah.
I've always, and then, I mean, as a kid, I immediately figured out how to start buying stuff and breaking it up and turning it into more and selling it. And I was buying packs of bubble gum and selling them individually or whatever. I always figure it out somehow. And it's weird because people tell you, oh yeah, I always knew. And it sounds so cliche.
Yeah.
But I did. I always knew I was going to like take care of my mom. Like, I remember I used to tell my mom, like, I'm going to get you a house someday. Like, you don't worry about it. Like, someday nobody's going to be able to kick you out anymore because I'm going to buy you a house.
Yeah.
And, you know, luckily I got to do that 10 or so years ago.
Yeah. And I think that's good too, because it's like, you were just like I mean, you're a product of your environment, but it was something that it turns into something positive.
You know, I'm a big fan these days of your peers. Like, that's, I always tell I tell Jordan all the time, my son, like, look who you're hanging around with, because that's who you're going to be.
Yeah.
You're not going to hang out with these guys that are getting drunk, smoking weed all day. You know, they work, but they go 9 to 5 and then they're just getting drunk and smoking weed and they got 5 girlfriends. Like, that's exactly what you're going to be.
Yeah. You
hung out with a bunch of guys that are business oriented and they're hustle oriented and they're making moves. That's what you're going to be. Yeah. So I've been lucky in the sense that, and you know this, because everybody says like, dude, you got this weird, like your group of friends is so random. Like,
yeah, the people you go to Nashville with, I'm like, who are these white people?
Yeah. And when I went to New Mexico with my other buddies.
Yeah, like, I'm like, what the heck?
So I've always hung out with people that I've either looked up to or kind of aspired to have the same type of life.
Yeah.
Like, I've kind of been like, well, they're cool and I can hang out with them and we get along good enough. So I'm going to see what's up. How does this guy get to live like this? You know, because in our life, it was crazy, man. It was just chaos. It was 20 something people living in our house.
Yeah.
And so I got to start getting glimpses of, you know, I got a real good friend, John Becerra, that I went to elementary school with. I remember his dad used to pick us up after school in his Porsche and take us to his house, and his mom would make us sandwiches and like normal life kid shit. Like, that shit didn't happen in my life. Like, we were getting out of school and going to the Salvation Army soup line. Yeah. Like, so when I got to go do stuff, it was like an eye opener for me. Like, wow, man, people really, like, I'm going to live like this. Like, this is how my family's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that, like, as a kid, like, aspiring to, like, have a family like theirs. And so immediately I just started kind of latching on to, like, kind of, and it wasn't by design. For whatever reason, God's plan is the only way I can explain it, is I started hanging out with people that were more successful than me, and that, like the old man that owned the car lot that I own now, right? Like, for some reason, when I got there, he had a cancer and he wasn't running the lot. He had sold it to a guy named Charlie Thompson that owned Thompson Lumber in Oxnard. And that guy was like in his family owned Thompson Lumber. So he was like in his late 20s. I was
young.
4th, 5th grade. Mm-hmm. And it was me, Joey, Buyel. All of us would hang out around there. Yeah. But for some reason, he's like, no, I'm going to give you a job. Like, you're a sharp kid. Like, hey, we're going to give this kid a job washing cars, this and that. And I would just hang out with the guy. I remember he was going through a bad breakup. I was in the 4th grade, and he would sit there and tell me all about his girlfriend and how she left him for this doctor and this and that. And I would sit there and act like, oh, yeah, I know what you mean, bro. Yeah, I get it. And he would just, and I just sat there and played the part, and the guy let me hang out.
Which is Larry, right?
No, that was Charlie. So then Charlie, because that girl left him and he was heartbroken, he sold the business back to Larry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then, you know, Larry didn't like Buyo and those guys too much because he was sure that they were the ones stealing stereos at night, because the stereos were all missing at night.
They probably were, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, they probably were.
They definitely were.
Yeah.
So, but for some reason, he took a liking, because I spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, you speak Spanish. You stick around here, bring your homework, you stay here, and you can interpret when the Mexican customers come for Van Wilson at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he was a salesman for him. And, I mean, I've been there ever since, man, in and out. But, I mean, I've come and gone because I was
running out of jobs and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, and then I would go through there, and I was always, for some reason, I trusted Larry. Mind you, I was early teens, 13, 14, when I started coming in and out of there and doing stupid shit. And he would see me like having money and jewelry and cars. He'd be like, hey, you're up to no good, kid. And that shit's no good for you. I'm telling you. And he was always like trying to lead me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then until, then I thought I had it all figured out by the time from 15 to 18, because I was hustling and making money and had nice cars and pretty girlfriends and all that kind of stuff. And
the heyday, huh?
And then when I was 18 and when I came home finally from being, it was time to day, like, you're an adult now, you get in trouble, this shit's going to follow you for life and you got to do. He kind of just said, hey, man, like, you want to keep hanging out with these guys, and is that what you want to do, or would you like to own a business someday? And that's where he took me under the wing there at the car lot, and it was very profitable for him too.
Yeah, yeah.
I was a freaking.
You got some new blood in here.
Yeah, I mean, I
can speak
selling
Spanish.
20 cars by myself a month. He was only selling 15 with 3 salesmen. I was selling 20 on my own.
Yeah.
So it became really,
good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so good that towards the end, when we became partners, I think he was 88.
Yeah,
and I was like in my 30s, and I was like, dude, it's time. Like, I got to buy you out. Like, I pay, because he was still making half of the income.
Yeah.
We were still 50-50 partners. And I was like, dude, it's time.
Damn, you're 30 then? 30s?
Yeah, I was.
Because I remember that time
when
you were like, I got to buy this guy out.
Actually, I was 28.
You were 28 then?
Yeah, I was 28 when I bought him out.
It's crazy because, obviously as you get older, like me being younger than you then, and not really knowing your age, like, and just where you're at, I would have expected you to be older. But now I'm older than you were then.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah. You're freaking doing it. But I would say Larry changed your life.
Larry,
kind of.
So I always
like, he gave you the vessel.
Like, people always say, oh, well, you're lucky because Larry, no, we're not.
You took the opportunity.
Yeah, it's opportunities. Like, everybody gets put opportunity. Like, Larry gave me this opportunity, but I could just as well shit on it.
Yeah, you could have.
And went out and say, oh, fuck, I don't want to go to work every day, 7 days a week. Because that's what he made me do.
I remember he used to live there.
For 9 years.
Yeah.
Like, not taking a day off, Christmas, Thanksgiving, that was it. Like, I lived there, like, it came to a point where I was missing too many of Jordan's baseball games and stuff. And I was like, dude, I gotta make my kids games. Like, I gotta like kind of find some balance here because I'm making a lot of money, but I don't have a life.
Yeah.
And I'm making up for that now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Dude.
you take some vacations.
I mean, even take your older kids with you.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they get a benefit.
To me, I would take them everywhere I go, but like
they got jobs.
They can only handle so much of me.
Oh, yeah. Especially Alexis.
At the end of the day, I'm still dad,
Alexis is like, I'm trying to go places that are safe. She's like a worrywart.
Yeah. She don't like Mexico, and they're afraid of the food. And
so I mean, that's so that he gave you the opportunity that you took advantage of that changed it.
Yeah,
basically, because before that,
I mean, there was a lot of people that played instrumental roles in my life. My boxing trainer was one of them. Yeah. At 8 years old, I remember by the time I was like 12, I started smoking weed.
Yeah.
And one day I was sparring, and he would come and he would say, "Okay, take a deep breath." And he would hold my chest, and I did it like 3 times, and he looked at me and he said, "You're smoking weed."
Damn. He's like a witch doctor.
From feeling my heartbeat.
He's like a witch doctor.
Yeah. And I was so shitted. I had so much respect for this old man, right? Sparky Gomez. And I was so scared of him that I was like, no. He's like, you can't lie to me. Your heart murmur. You get like almost a heart murmur. Like you skip a beat. Your heartbeat goes irregular when you're smoking marijuana. And your heartbeat's going irregular. And I've been training you for 3 years, and it's never been like that. And that put me to, like, luckily that's what made me stop. Like, otherwise I would have started smoking probably from there on, but so people like that, and he would just always, guide me and try to give me good advice and tell me who to hang out with. And I was kind of his little prodigy child, because I was the one always at the gym every day.
This guy's going to make it.
Yeah. This is going to be my kid that I'm going to take to the, Golden Gloves. Unfortunately, he got sick, and
you did go.
Wait, he ended up going later on with Pat Murphy out of San Luis Obispo when I started. I was like, I think the last time I went out in the Golden Gloves, I was about 21, 22, I think.
Yeah.
But, I had kids and business, and there's boxing. You gotta be. It's got to be your job, your life. You train twice a day, eat clean. And And if you're not going to do that, you're not going to be real successful at it.
No, because there's someone else doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still love the sport. I still I try to go help Carlos train kids when I can and work with my friends' kids and stuff. I'll have to teach Ryan before
I know.
Go to school, teach him.
Remember I sent you that TikTok? The guy was like punching at the TV screen.
Yeah.
Dude, he's like, Nino. Because I'm like, yeah, he does. When Frankie gets excited about a fight, he starts swinging onto the TV.
Yeah. When we're watching boxing.
You know what else is funny?
I'm that guy up swinging at the TV.
He likes to watch lowrider cruises on YouTube. He'll sit there and watch them. Ryan will. And the other day, we put one on, and Jimmy Humilde came out. And he was like, Nino. I'm like, yeah, your Nino wears the same freaking glasses probably. That's what it is. Same sunglasses.
That was me.
Yeah. I'm like, freaking, these guys are brothers.
Yeah.
So basically, I would say the car lot catapulted you legally, right?
Without a doubt.
And then obviously you bust your ass there. I remember, dude. I remember this. Dude, I remember you used to let us borrow a car to go grocery shopping. I remember that when we would walk over when we lived on Courier still, we'd walk over there, and Mom would be like, Frankie, we need to go grocery shopping, and then you'd be like, fuck it. Like, you let us go take one.
Yeah.
Take a car, go grocery shopping, take the food home, and then take the car back, which was super dope because prior to that, we were taking the SMAT bus, and we could only have 2 bags. You had to drive from walk from Courier to the mall, take the SMAT bus to grocery outlet, and then shop, and then...
Oh, dude, my mom and your mom used to take us walking all over town, dude. We would freaking walk from Kmart to the projects, bro.
Dude, that's
go see the Blue Light specials.
Second-hand
story, man. Like, when they were like, oh, we're going to walk there, and so-and-so's going to pick us up, and we're going to get a ride home. And we'd get there and be like, oh, so-and-so didn't show up or whatever. Like, let's start walking. She'll find her on the way. And
6 hours later.
We're...
Probably took forever, huh?
Yeah, but... It was
good memories, huh? You guys all stay skinny because of that, I'm sure.
No, nobody stays skinny. Shit, I'm skinny right now because I got sick in Mexico. But
so that basically you had the car, like, you hustled, you made money. I think you're into investing now. You invest into properties and stuff. But from my earliest memory of Was that Vine Street? Was that your first?
Yeah.
That was because remember
I was 23 when I bought my first duplex. Yeah.
Damn. You had the old lady living next door. You were only 23 back then?
I was 23.
Hey Jordan, we're messing up, bro. This guy had a duplex at 23. I remember the garage was a game room.
Yeah. I had a bunch I hooked it up. It was there. I just knew, like, everybody that I know that has money has property.
Yeah, they all
like
do.
All my buddies that are farmers and stuff, like, yeah, that's their business and that's where they get their money. Kind of like with me with my car lot. Like, it still is my main source of income.
Yeah.
But I can't retire on it because it takes an active person running it.
You have to be there, yeah.
And I've been there my whole freaking life. I don't want to, I want to create a scenario where maybe I can be an absent owner. What I would ultimately really like to do is give somebody the same opportunity that Larry gave me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, here, you come run my store. So what he finally did was, because I don't know if you remember, but I was working for Kraft Foods.
Yes.
I was selling that Tombstone pizza and all a bunch of different Kraft
that was
products.
another thing. I would love to get home from school. Tombstone.
Tombstones.
Bro, you would leave us freaking...
Everybody in my family had freaking boxes of frozen Tombstone pizzas.
We didn't have any food in the house, but
DiGiorno's,
the little small pizzas and the bagels.
Yeah.
Bro, when you come through, it was like a blessing.
So I was doing that, and I would go to work like at 3 a.m, and I was off by 11. And then I would go sell cars in the afternoons. So I was killing. I was making, and I was in my early 20s, and I was making $50,000, $55,000 a year doing that.
Yeah.
And I was making, another $5-6 grand a month selling cars. So I was making all this money, but I had no life. I was, and then I had 2 kids too at the time. So, and I would get them every Tuesday and Thursday, but somehow I've always managed to make sure that, like, I had my kids on my kids' days. Like, I had my kids every Tuesday and Thursday their whole life. I would take them, they went to St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take them lunch on Mondays and Wednesdays. I would get them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then every other weekend. So the only days I wouldn't see my kids was like 2 days a week, like Friday 1 week, and then so once a week I would only see them, not once once a week I wouldn't see him.
Yeah.
And then the following week when I didn't have him for the weekend, I wouldn't get him for that whole weekend. And that was Jordan most part. Alexis, I just always had a really good relationship with her mom, and I could just get her whenever I wanted. Like,
yeah,
whenever I could convince them that I was doing something cool enough that they wanted to come with me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, but luckily, you know, I had my first kid when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And then I had Jordan when I was 19. And then I didn't have no more kids until I was 28 when I got married.
Yeah.
But luckily, my kids will never use that word step. Like, you guys are not freaking step brothers. You guys are brothers.
Yep.
I raised you guys together. I raised you guys as one. Like, don't ever let me hear you guys using that word. Like,
you don't even get that vibe. Like, they're tight, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, no,
like,
they're tight.
Like when you're there, like, you don't even think, yeah, dude, like, that's obviously, I know I've been there their whole lives.
Well, let me tell you a story about,
you don't get that energy.
How much my kids, I keep them as a unit, you know, like, you guys are a family. Like, we're a family, we're brothers and sisters, and that's it. There's no steps, there's no nothing. Like, any of us will do anything for each other, period. Jasmine, my youngest daughter's 11 now, but when she was 9, she told Letty, well, where's the pictures of when Alexis was in your tummy? And she's like, huh? He's like, yeah, well, when was sister in your tummy? Because I see pictures of me in your tummy and Tata in your tummy. But so my daughter thought that my youngest baby thought that my oldest daughter was her mom's kid too.
Yeah.
Like, she thought Alexis was Letty's kid too, right?
Yeah.
Like, she was like, hey, this is, and I'm like, and then we finally, at that point, I was like, dude, I wish I don't even want to have to explain this to you. I wish I'd rather just keep you believing it that way, you know. But obviously, I gave her a little 8-year-old breakdown of it. I didn't say, oh, well, your dad was a freaking Rolling Stone and
painting the city red.
Yeah. But you know, I grew up without a dad in my life. My mom had a couple stepdads, but you know, that's why I've always told people, like, if your dad wasn't in your life and you didn't have a role model, that's the worst excuse to say that's why you're doing that to your kids. Like, oh, that's why he's poor guy. He didn't have a role model, and bullshit. Like, that's the exact reason why you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Like, you need to be present for your kids, and they're just my happy place, man. I'd rather be at freaking the mall or whatever Jasmine wants to do, 5 Below, the Ravine, than out having drinks at the Cliffs or a cart. Like,
yeah.
But if you catch me doing something like that, that's because my kid doesn't want to do nothing, man.
Yeah.
Because if she wants to do something, I'm 1,000 times
You're
ready.
like, I ain't going to that car show.
Yeah.
We'll go to the Ravine.
Pick her up from school every day, take her. Like, those are my highlights, man.
Yeah.
And I'm grasping this stuff now because she's my last kid, and this is. I want to enjoy this, man. I want to enjoy the ride, you know.
Yeah.
And it's been a good ride so far.
I mean, I think it's obvious. I mean, I don't go to stores ever, but the times that I've gone, I've always run into you, and you're with Jazzy and one of her friends. I'm like, hey, this guy goes to stores. I never go to stores.
Yeah.
But
Target is our freaking. We are Target's
Valerie doesn't have shopping,
man. We freaking live there ever since Toys R Us closed.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So that first house on Vine Street, how much was that house?
I put $12,000 down on it, and I paid $153 for it for a 2-bedroom and a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and a 1-bedroom. And then 2 years later, about 2.5 years later, I sold it for $350.
Dang.
So then I'm like, oh shit, there's some money to be made here. You know, this is. I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
So then I turned that and then bought some other property. And then 2007 came.
Yeah.
Times were great, man. I was making tons of money all through the 2000s and even the 90s for that matter. But bought myself a big freaking $1 million home, and
that was a nice
house.
And
then the market crashed. Boom. And like literally within 3 months, my house was worth like $750, and I paid 1.1.
Damn.
So I got really lucky scenario where I got out of it, and I got to save my credit and everything.
Yeah.
So those were
I always wondered about that.
Union 76 oil fields.
Oh, okay.
And there was sump coming up through the grass. And my neighbor had just gotten his house bought back for it. It was a long story, but Indy Mac was the lien holder, and they were just trying to clean their books because the government had just took them over. So luckily, right when I submitted it, they're like, "Oh, we'll just buy you out because we're trying to clean up these books so we could sell them."
Dude, you got lucky.
I got to walk away from it, and luckily, I still had other properties where I moved into my other stuff, and it was a tough time, man. 07, I remember all the car lots closed in town. It was me, Phil Parks, which is Quality Motors.
Mm-hmm.
I think Victory was still there.
Doug, huh?
Doug, Best Buy.
Yeah.
But he had just...
last time I talked to
about that time, or did he start after that?
I think he was there, but he told me he told me in the past he had to fire everybody. He had to go back down to like bare bones.
I don't remember if maybe he had just started. Was he over on Betaravia at the time?
Probably, yeah.
But I mean, everybody that like right now, we just went through this COVID thing, best time the car business has ever seen, right? Like for like 3 years. So all these random dealerships popped up everywhere. But we're about to come into another. I see like the onsets of what I seen in 06 and 07 happening already right now.
Yeah.
And I think we're in for correction. I think the economy's strong enough, and there's enough people here, and the town's a lot bigger, and I don't think it's going to be as big of a correction, but we're definitely in for a correction.
I think so too, and I feel like the car business feels it first, and I mean we deal mostly in the car business, and I feel like in the inventory we see coming, it. Yeah, I think we see it, and one and two, I don't like you said, I don't think it'll be as bad because from what I listen to and read, people actually have equity in their houses now. So it's almost gonna be like a different correction.
See, people had equity in their houses back in 07 too.
Oh, okay.
But when the market corrected, and that house that had just sold mine, for example, I had equity in my house at 1.1. Yeah. But then when it dropped to 750, I had no equity, and that's what happens with. Yeah. And this market's just crazy,
We're due though, right?
Yeah, kind it's just crazy. I mean, that house that I just bought that I flipped over there, that one. I mean, 540. Behind Atkinson Park. Yeah. Come on, bro. Like, that's freaking crazy, man. $500. So that means somebody's going to pay $3,500 a month to live behind Atkinson Park?
It's crazy. It has to change, right?
It's just not sustainable.
And, and plus we don't have the same freaking Silicon Valley. Like, people make $40,000 a year, $20,000, $30,000 here.
Yeah. I mean, we're a farming community.
Yeah. So it's like, we can't afford it.
Probably 75% of my customers down on West Main are something to do with ag.
Yeah.
Be it they're harvesting, or they're driving a truck or a forklift at the cooler, or they work but something at the sales or something, but something to do with ag. So that's the good part about this is, whatever happens to the economy,
people still
can't stop eating, right? You got to still eat. So the ag usually does okay even in bad times.
Yeah.
It's the real estate that really killed this town off when it hit, because there was so many. But don't you remember, everybody was a loan officer, everybody was a real estate agent, and people with no licenses were working for this other guy and still doing the same thing through his license
under the name.
Yeah,
but I also remember, because I worked at Santa Maria Ford at the time, I remember people were just like refinancing their houses and buying a freaking F-150, F-250 because they just bought a boat, because they just refinanced. That's what I remember. Yeah. I remember like people were spending their money stupid. From what I remember.
I remember this one lady came in. She had refinanced her house. I had a Hummer truck. Remember that Hummer truck that I had all tricked out? I literally had it for like 2 months. Put some 26s on it, a bunch of speakers.
They lived by
I was
me.
young.
Like recently.
Oh, they did?
Like, I would say that they probably moved out like 3 years ago, but they live right behind us.
She came and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy my son a car because I just refied my house. I'm just gonna buy it cash, and then he's gonna make me the payments." Okay, whatever. And as she was leaving, she seen my truck and she's like, "What about that one?" I said, "Oh, it's not for sale. I just bought it. I just fixed it up myself." "Oh, well, I want it." I'm like, "Well, it's not for sale. I just bought it." And then I paid, I think at the time, like $45,000 for it or something. She's like, "Well, I want it. I want to buy it. It's for sale, right? If the price is right." I'm like, "Yeah, if you give me $55,000 for it, I'd sell it." And she's like, "Okay, done." So she literally came in and wrote me a check for 2 cars, right? And that was kind of what people were doing in that time.
That was another thing.
They were just buying they were living off of their equity.
Yeah.
They were out there living too large off of their equity.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
And then when, and then they were doing it on them crazy loans of 5-year balloons and all that crazy shit.
And then people were just, and then back then too, I think, I mean, my dad had no business buying 2 houses. I mean, luckily he grinded it out. He rented rooms. He still has the houses, and he has changed the loans to where they're not like that anymore. But I mean, I don't think my dad could have afforded 2 houses, but didn't ask for anything because he had good credit.
It was kind of like everybody was doing it, so you need to hurry up and do it too. You know, like, oh, everybody's buying houses and getting another house. I need to do it too. I
buy a house too, and then. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. So, I would say so. Basically, I always want once you obviously got out of the house in Orchid, big house, what everybody would expect from Frankie, having a super dope pad. Why don't you have one now? Because obviously you have a nice house.
Yeah.
And I know you can buy one. Yeah. Well, why? And I know all your friends have them.
Yeah. Because my house is paid for, man.
I know.
For me to say, I'm going to walk out of this nice house on a, 15,000 square foot lot that's paid for, to say, and then when I say it's paid for, I mean, I owe literally freaking less than $100,000 on it or something. I could just pay it off tomorrow, right? But the interest is still handy for taxes, and it doesn't make any sense to pay it off. But to me, I live in my house. I mean, I could write a check for it today and pay it off. It's paid off. So what I'm doing with that money instead of paying $10,000 a month, I just bought that house off of what's his name, right? I bought it cash.
Yeah.
I could have went and I could go buy a house for $1 million cash, but that's a liability.
Yeah.
That house is going to cost me, even if it's paid off, it's still going to cost me $4,000 or $5,000 a month to run. Yeah. Water, electric, gardening, and then I'm going to want a big garage in the back. I'm going to get all that stuff in due time. I just need to, I'm not going to do it until I could buy it outright. And then here's another thing. You buy a, $2 million house. Well, now you got a $2,000 a month tax payment forever.
Yeah. And you're out of $2 million.
So, I got an 11-year-old still. I got one daughter at Cal Poly right now still. And my focus, we live good, man.
Yeah, you guys are chilling.
We go on vacation whenever we want. We do whatever we want. It's just and my family's getting smaller, not bigger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go buy a big house when everybody's gone.
Yeah.
So it's definitely in the future. I just, when I did it the first time, and I remember being at escrow signing, everything inside of me told me I was doing the wrong thing. Everything, I swear to you, I've never had God yell at me louder, more clearly than I did that day in that escrow office. He was telling me not to do it.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, dude, it was I had this voice so clear saying, but I was just too embarrassed
to back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your pride.
I can't do this and that. And I'm like, and then my kind of machismo comes I'm going to do it. I've always did it. No matter what I do, I've always figured it out in life. I've made it happen. I'm going to make this happen. And, so now I'm dude, I'd rather, since I haven't done that, I bought my lake house, I bought in some other properties, some rentals that we have, that triplex on Cook Street, and I'm gonna build my real estate portfolio up.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got 30, 40 grand a month coming in out of that portfolio, where it's just good, free, clear money. And that's the other thing is I don't, all my rentals, counting the house I live in and all my rentals put together, I mean, 3 of my properties are paid for. 4 of my properties are paid for.
Yeah.
And the other ones I owe less than $500,000 all put together.
That's crazy. So it's all profit.
It's a good feeling, man. And then to go say, wait, I'm going to go spend $2 million on this place that I'm going to live in, and then $5,000 a month maintaining it, and
just putting yourself in a hole.
And I'm going to wait until something tells me this is right. When I know it's right, then I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to do it until I know it's right. And right now I feel like what's right is just buying these properties. I'm flipping that house. I did a 1031 exchange account, and then I'm going to buy 12 2-bedroom apartments with it.
Nice.
And there's $20 grand a month coming in off of that. So as soon as I can get that ball rolling and So it's a process.
That's like my next. That's like my next thing.
Yeah.
That's like I want.
You got to do it, but honestly, right now is crazy, man. The only way you can get into it is when you stumble across a deal like I did with this last one that I bought. Because I'm always out there looking, but dude, there's nothing else. So many investors out there buying cash. Yeah. That in order to even compete or be even anywhere in that realm, you have to be a cash buyer. Yeah. So I can't go spend my money and buy me a place to live with a big fat house, and now I don't got my working capital, right? Like right now I'm going in there and I'm bidding against these guys that are investment groups and whatever, and I'm doing it by myself. I'm like, man, fuck that. I'll write you a check. We'll do it in 7 days. We're done. Let's go. So there's a lot of power in that, man. And I almost feel like maybe the power I've lost as a kid that I've kind of found in business, almost like, and I don't know. It's just it's a good feeling. A
lot of people, that know they were related was like, yeah, your cousin, man, he's flashy, he's this. And I'm like, not really.
I used to be.
I think you used to be, but I feel like people still have that perception of you. But I think, I think of you now, I'm like, he's not really flashy. He's just like, we're going to have a good time, we're going to have a good time. But I feel like your normal day to day is like, you ain't.
Bro, I drive a 5-year-old truck. Yeah. I got some Impalas and stuff, but those are assets. Those are not liabilities, man. Yeah. I'm not going to ever lose money on those cars, No. So I love buying Impalas like every time I get a chance, because it's like to me, I'm looking at it like it's the same as buying a piece of real estate. Yeah. I'm not going to lose money. The only part that sucks is you got to figure out where to store them and take care of them. And then, your son drives them and the transmission goes out and he just parks it, and there's another $2,000
no, it's your problem.
Bill. But ultimately I always tell people, like, I can't take my checking account out for a drive on Sunday, but I could take that out, and it's the same thing as having it in my checking account. Yeah, so I get to drive that thing, man. Like, yeah. So, I think, but everybody's in that classic car game now, man. And I just feel like I'm not tying up $50,000 to make $3,000 or $4,000, because that's all these guys are making on these things.
Yeah, they're not making a lot. No.
Because there's so much competition out there on it. And I'm like, I'd rather tie it up in real estate and get $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Yeah. Off of the.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I feel like some people, that $50,000 is probably all they have, though. Like they're like reinvesting it. Like you have the benefit of like, well, I could tie up $50,000, but I still got X amount more, So, but I don't know. Yeah, I feel like for me that it's like, I don't know. I always think about it too, like, oh, I should, I could make a couple grand off of if I buy and sell Impala. But me personally, and obviously you've been in business longer than me, I feel like I need to be 100% bought in what I'm doing. I feel like people, you're in a different position where you can kind of venture out into different things. But where I'm at and where some people are where I'm at or lower, they fucking want to do they want to be a jack of all trades. Like, bro, just be badass at your business, right?
Yeah. I read this. I like reading, man. Reading is probably one of the best things that'll bring you forward. Like, get some good books, man. Like, they're blinking me now. I'm drawing a blank, but man, I got this one. I just got done reading. What was it called? Die with Zero.
Oh, okay.
It just says, people be careful about how long you save for, and make sure you enjoy it too. Yeah. Like, you don't want to just save, because then you're 75, you die, you got all this money and whatever, and then your son-in-laws end up buying Ferraris and shit because you never did. Yeah. And you never enjoyed it, Yeah. Like, I'm going to make sure I have fun with this money, but responsibly. Yeah. Right? I want to make sure that my kids are taken care of, and like we were saying, like, look how hard it is to buy a house. Could you imagine the day Ryan goes to buy a house in Santa Maria? It's going to be $2 million for a house behind Atkinson Park.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy.
Right? Yeah. So how do we make sure that our kids have a better life? We give them a kickstart. Yeah. Like, I'm going to make sure you get into your first house, your starter house. If you can make sure your kids get into a home and they don't have a fucking $5,000 mortgage every month, dude, you just gave them an opportunity to live a good life. Yeah. Because they've already got the biggest jump start. Like, the biggest debt any family has is their mortgage. Their rent is number one highest bill that a household has, right? So if you can eliminate that for your kids, you're just giving them the best gift you've ever could give them.
Yeah. Right? Hell yeah.
So,
and you don't want to make, and at least for me, I don't want my kids to base what they do in life because they need money.
There's something to be said for that, though. You do want them to struggle a little bit.
Yeah,
man. They gotta be hungry. You can't make it too easy for them, man. And I could tell you both scenarios where I have friends that grew up rich, and they end up being good people and running their dad's business and being successful at it and doing well.
Yeah,
and they were spoiled little, kids when they had first cars were BMWs and Mercedes and whatever, and you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and it turned out to be a good. Dude, like running his parents' business really well. He took over the business. He's doing well with it. And then you got other people were spoiled and they ended up being crackheads, and they're riding around bike on 10 speeds, and their last name is one of the streets around town.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, dude, you guys own 600 acres on Main Street. Why are you riding a bike around town, dude? Like, you're the only child. Yeah. How did that happen? So. But that's because they overcompensate in these kids. But I don't think that's because of. I always tell people, like, I've spoiled all my kids. Yeah. Right. Probably overcompensating for what I went through as a kid. But all my kids had a BMW as their first car. Went to St. Joe, private schools, and they've all turned out to be good kids, man. Yeah. I never had to pick them up from the police station or, no drama like that.
I feel like you did do that, but they also knew they couldn't fuck around on you. Yeah, I feel like it was both. Like, hey, I'm, Frankie, I'm gonna give you a great life, but you're gonna fucking listen to me.
Yeah.
You were the good cop and the bad cop.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what the other parents lacked. Maybe.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I gave them that fun in life that I didn't get to have as being a kid. Like, enjoy your kid. Just be a kid. Like, don't worry about where your next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
Don't worry about having to go into Thrifties and steal a candy bar because you haven't ate all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because literally, like, I told this to my kids. Like, I tell my daughter, like, dude, like, if I look back as a kid, probably like junior high back, I probably went to bed hungry 75% of the time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, getting a full stomach was always like one of my missions of the day.
Yeah, just to eat.
Like, yeah, just figuring out like whether I was gonna go hang out with a friend till his mom fed us, or I was gonna go steal half a block of Hershey's from Thrifties, or I was gonna go get in the soup line at the Salvation Army, which I always hated to do, mind you. Even when I was a kid, I always felt like I don't fucking belong here, man.
And there's people in line talking to themselves.
They weren't that crazy. There wasn't all this freaking meth and all that shit. Yeah. People were doing coke and weed, and that was it back those days. So it wasn't that crazy, man. The people in the homeless and the soup lines back when I was a kid, we knew them all. There were families from the projects and stuff like that, But we did that shit, man. I can't tell you how many times. And the CAC used to give us that block cheese and the powdered milk, and then like once a week they would give you a bag of groceries, and the CAC was right next door to the Red House, literally right next door.
Oh, and those like brown buildings
underneath the apartments that your mom used to live in. So your mom lived upstairs. The downstairs building was the CAC. So my mom and Tilly used to volunteer there to help hand out food, because then they would get 2 bags of food. Oh, right? And we had like 20 people. That shit was gone 5 minutes after it came in the house. But they would work there to help. So then when we would go over there and visit them, we would go and unlock the window, because they had a room with a bunch of nothing but like Hostess and all that stuff, like all this good sweet stuff and all that. They would keep that stuff apart because the workers would always jack it, because all the workers were volunteer poor people.
Yeah,
working for CAC. It was nobody on the like payroll people. It was just like a bunch of volunteer workers. So we figured out how to get in that room and pop that window. So our house was right next door. So it was me and Buyo for months. We knew about that window and we wouldn't tell nobody. And we would go, and Buyo was too big to fit in the window. It was like a little narrow window, and I would jump through and freaking get donuts and whatever, and
throw them through.
Yep, come back out, and we were full every night. And then we would come back, walk into the Red House with about 5 packs in our hands each, and everybody, hey, where'd you guys get those? Oh, we wouldn't have bought them at 7-Eleven or whatever. But we were jacking it from the store. So it was always like, it literally was like survival of the fittest, because we it was like, I remember I would tell my mom, like, I'm hungry. And she's like, well, figure it out. Go fucking figure it out. Like, I got 8 kids. Like, there's no food. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And we would, man. We would figure it out. We would go jump in the dumpster at PG&E over there behind CVS on Big Five.
The two
and we would take buildings. Out those. They had big, like the portions of the telephone wire up there, and we would strip it and get the copper out of it and go sell the copper to try to get. So we were always trying to figure out a way to
kids don't do that now, and then they just complain. Oh, you guys are out here doing the most.
I don't think now, man, the government makes it to where you don't got to do that. Like, don't just if your parents know how to work the system, there's no reason why you should ever go hungry here.
You can ball out here.
Yeah, like there wasn't all these programs like that when we were kids. Like they weren't giving away all this food and shelter and medical. I heard now that if you go stay at the like these homeless people, if they stay at the shelter for like if you have a kid and you go to the shelter, you go first on the list, and like within a week or two, they'll get you an apartment. If you have a kid, but you have to be staying in the shelter.
Yeah.
So I was talking to this girl that was there buying a car, or she had bought a car off of us, and she was telling us that she lived in the car, and she said that, and I said, well, she says, well, they want me to live there though. I have to stay there. And I'm like, well, even if it's 2 weeks of hell, like you're gonna get a house forever after that. Isn't that worth going through? And she's like, oh no, everybody's talking to themselves in there. Everybody's on drugs, and it's crazy in there. And
yeah.
So, but we did that. I mean, we stayed in at one point we were staying in the armory.
Oh, okay.
Because it was cold out, and they knew, like, homeless people, they were letting us sleep in there. But yeah, those are not good memories, man, looking back at that.
They were tough.
But looking back, I feel like, and I'm not like a Bible thumper, but I'm definitely a God-fearing man, and I believe in God and that He has a plan for us and everything. That I'm a true believer, and I think that was part of my path, man. That was what He set me on so that I could be here today.
Yeah,
it was just a walk I had to take, and
it was like your battle scars, huh?
Yeah,
I mean, it developed you.
Yeah. So we went there, and then business was shit for about 3 years after that. I remember one of my buddies came, and he had everybody was going out of business. Yeah. Banks all closed. You couldn't get people financing no more because all the finance companies shut down. They went out of business.
It was bad.
At that point, I was started like, okay, well, now I'm going to have to in-house finance you guys because I can't get a bank. So then, you start out with 80 cars, and the next thing I remember, at one point, I was down to 17 cars. And I didn't really have any more money to go just buy a bunch of more inventory. I had payments coming in, but it was $2 or $3 grand or something. So it's just, you end up paying some bills and it's gone, and then you aren't really replacing the cars. So, but I remember my buddy saying, man, because I got those 2 limos. And I remember even at one time I had my limos parked out there just to take up space.
Yeah.
And my buddy came by and he seen that, and he said, and have you ever thought about what you would have to do if you went out of business? And I said, it's never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, even the minute he said that was the first time it ever crossed my mind, because I had never thought like, oh, what happened? Because it's not an option. Like,
yeah.
I have too many people depending on me to fail. I can't fail. I fail. My kids fail. My mom failed. Like, no, I can't. Like,
yeah.
I never even thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's going out of business. What happens if that's not going to happen?
Like, I ain't going to go out of business.
It's not an option. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like things, I mean, obviously, behind the scenes, you've done your part, but I feel like things have worked out for you.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's like your mentality or?
I think at the end of the day, things used to go a lot worse for me, man. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I was always caught up in a court case, or somebody was suing me. Or, I had some kind of ailment going. Yeah, I always had some fucking. But I was still at a point where I didn't realize how much bad energy or bad karma my negative output was still bringing me.
Yeah.
And I would say like in the last 10 years,
you like chill though.
I've just tried to become a better person, man. Yeah. Like I don't want to be an asshole to people. I don't want to like.
You'll talk your way out of a fight. If you
can. If I could talk my way out of a fight, like just as long as you don't fuck with my kids, bro.
Yeah.
My family. Like I'm not gonna talk to you about that. Like we're not gonna have that conversation.
Yeah.
Like if
like
you just,
I'm just gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, like I'll come out of that's the only thing I'll come out of retirement for. Like I'm not. Like, just don't mess with my family, man, and my business. Yeah. You fuck with my business, too, because that's like
family.
That's the same thing as breaking into my house and stealing from my family in my eyes.
Yeah.
And my thing is, like, I always tell these guys that I catch, like, stealing at the car lot, right? Yeah. Like, give them a couple slaps or something, and I'll be like, look, dude, there's a lot of car lots in this town that you can go steal from, and they're not going to find you and kick your ass. I promise you. I got cameras. I know everybody in this town. I'll find you, bro, if you come back here.
Yeah.
Do not come back here. And I've been pretty lucky with that. You know, I get hit here and there, but nowhere near like the guys up and down the street.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm like, dude, I grew up on these streets too. Like, don't come do it to me. Go somewhere else, bro, because I'm going to hunt you down, man.
And yeah, you're right. Those other guys, they're not going to do nothing.
Yeah, those guys aren't. I mean, what are you going to do if you come to Toyota Santa Maria and they like...
They're just gonna,
all the managers are going to get together and grab their bats and
go find you? Hell no. They're not. Yeah. Not even the owners. Nobody's going to do it. They're just going to chalk it off. And it's a
small town, right?
Yeah.
We live in. So I don't know if you remember a while back, I had a bunch of catalytic converters stolen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was like you're 7 or 8 or...
You're posting the guy on your social.
In one week, right? So I just put a post up. Hey, if anybody knows... Oh, yeah. Dude, within 3 days, I had 3 different people show up to my car lot telling me exactly who did it.
I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah. Telling me exactly who did it. And I know exactly, the guy's name is Miguel Galvan. I still haven't caught him. I thought I caught him the other day at the railroad tracks, but it was the wrong guy.
Did you get off and...
Yeah, I apologized to him after. I took his bike from him and threw it at him, and then he was like, hey, wait a minute. And I was chasing around his bike. I'm like, I got you on video, dude. I know exactly who you are. He's like, no. And he was trying to pull his shirt off. I'm like, oh, you want to take your shirt off? Like, you want to, like, go ahead, take your shirt off, dude. And he pulled his shirt off. He was like, no, I was just trying to show you. My last name's Pichardo, not Galvan. Oh, you got the wrong guy. He wanted to show me his tattoo.
He's got the Mexican jersey.
To show me that I had the wrong guy.
So that guy, he has it out. I mean, it's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah, but the thing is
16,000.
So it's already, and I know like a while back here, just so that happened like 5 or 6 weeks ago, right? 7 weeks ago. And that all happened, and I found out who he was, and but just like 2 weeks ago, another guy should come. He's like, hey, I know exactly who got some, and I know where he's at. I'm like, I know where he's at too, whenever I know who the guy is. He's like, yeah, but he got my sister pregnant. Now he left her, so I want to watch you kick his ass. I'm like, that's not the way it works, bro. Like, I'm not going vengeance for you. Like, and honestly, hopefully, you know, if I see the guy today, if I would have seen him the next day, I probably would have lost my shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've also figured out, like, you give stuff some time, you'll get over it, man.
Yeah.
You're not as mad about it a week later as you are at that time, right?
Yeah.
So my point, what I was getting to is how things have changed for me and gone better is I try to do the right thing now, even if nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was in Mexico. I just got back. I was on vacation for a week. And I was at Walmart in Chapala, Jalisco, getting some stuff. And I went to the ATM to get some money out. And when I got up to the ATM machine, I just started tapping away, boom, 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 boom. And I was waiting for it to ask me for my card and my money. And bam, it just spit out 7,000 pesos.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, the hell, which is about $400, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And I think about it. I'm like, and then it says, oh, we want to retrieve your card. And I'm like, oh, dang, the lady in front of me left her card in there. Oh, damn. And for about 1/10 of a second, I thought, oh, cool. Now I don't need no money. I got $7,000. I'm going to throw it in my pocket, right? For about 1/10 of a second, I thought, what do you, like, no, like, that's not what I do. I'm not going to do that, man. I'm not, like, that's just bad karma, bro. You don't do that. Like, to me, that would be the biggest slap in God's face. Like, dude, I've blessed you so good financially. I've given you all this, and you're still going to steal from some Mexican lady who probably makes $150 a week.
That might be all her money. Huh?
Yeah, who knows? Whatever. She might be rich. Either way, it's hers. It's not yours.
Yeah.
How do you feel if... And the way I just always look at it is like, look, man, that could be you. And if you want somebody to pay it forward to you, like, you got to do it. And so I went running outside, and I found her. And the only way I didn't even know what she looked like. Obviously, I was standing behind her. I just remembered she had a little flower tattooed on her ankle.
Yeah.
So I'm literally running around Walmart, running up and down the aisles, looking at everybody's ankles, trying to find that flower tattoo.
Yeah.
And when I found it, the lady was with her mom. I gave her money back. I'm like, look, man, this is what happened, and this is your money. She's like, wait, well, I don't get it. Her mom started crying. She was like, I can't believe that this day and age, and you're going to actually come look for us to give us our money back. And I'm like, look, man, I'm just trying to do what I hope somebody would have did if it was the other way around, right?
Yeah.
And it's true, man. It's you buy stolen stuff. Like, I'm from the hood, right? Like, people used to bring freaking stuff by the car lot all the time.
Boosters,
tools, tri-tip. I mean, you name it, like, right? It's the hood down there. So they bring by all this stuff. Yeah, you name it. And I just, in the last 10 years, I've kind of realized, like, dude, that's the same thing as buying a stolen catalytic converter. Yeah. Like, you're part of the problem if you're buying this stuff. Like, you can't, if these guys don't have anybody to sell that shit to, they're not going to steal it.
Yeah.
But if they know, hey, I could go steal it and I run right to Frankie and he's going to buy it from me. But at the same time, you're just creating bad karma for yourself, man. You're not going to go buy stolen goods from somebody else and nobody's ever going to come steal shit from you. Yeah. That's just not the way the universe works, man. You want to do good, and if you think about it, and those people that you know that really don't have any problems, things always really go pretty smooth for them, and they don't have issues with the government and the police and everything. It's because they do shit right. Yeah. It's because they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's. And even when nobody's looking, they're doing the right thing, you know? I come across this with a lot of times with, like, you know, business. Like, there's a lot of times when you could cut corners on taxes, you know? Yeah. And you're like, dude. And I used to. Yeah. And now I found this freaking glitch of honesty that's freaking haunting me these days. Is just like got me paying all my taxes and all. But guess what, man? It's weird. Once you start doing that, everything just gets better. Yeah. It's like once you start doing what you're supposed to do, and the way I look at it is what God expects you to do when you're at that Y in the road. If you do the right thing, everything's going to go good in your life. Yeah. You're not going to go around burning your brothers and sisters out of, you know, whatever, and you're freaking burning customers because they didn't know that you put a $8.95 gap on there, and that shit, tarde que temprano, that's gonna come back and bite you in your ass. Like, God doesn't sleep, bro. Yeah. And all that stuff, you're gonna get charged for it eventually. You know, you might. I tell people, you might going away. It might be going good now, and it might be, you know, 3, 4, 5 months even, but eventually, and it ain't gonna be just because you stole money. Somebody's gonna steal money from you. It might be you end up with freaking cancer. Yeah. You know, you're just bringing bad energy to yourself, man. Bad vibes. And, like, at the end of the day, it's really simple, man. Good comes from good and bad comes from bad. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that. I truly believe that, man. It's just like the energy you put out is what you get back. Yeah. And even like you said earlier, you know, having, like, you know, the people that you surround yourself with, you know, like, I know somebody that has surrounded themselves with, you know, people that are negative, and it's affecting their life. You know, it affects their life because it's like, now you have drama now. Maybe not their drama, but now, how is it that you had no drama? You started hanging out with these people, this group of people, and now you have drama. Yeah, it's because it's just the energy,
dude. I even tried, like, to subconsciously keep my 11-year-old out of that stuff, because even like in her school groups of kids and friends and stuff, I see it happening, you know, like I see the friends and the which ones, and I'm like it's so hard to sit there and watch, and you know exactly what's happening, and I'm like, dude, all I could do is give her advice, like, here, look, your friends are gonna do stuff, and they're gonna make bad character decisions. Yeah, you got to be your own person. You got to be responsible for what you do, because they do it. If you're gonna look not cool doing it, so be it. Bad stuff's gonna come to them because of what they're doing. Like, you don't do stuff like that, and everything goes. Yeah. So, you know, it's not just walking at first, and I'd be honest with you, man. For years, I would walk talk to talk. Mm-hmm. Like I knew all this stuff, man.
Yeah.
But when it comes time for your time to do it, and it's going to cost you, $5,000 to be that honest guy and do things the right way or whatever.
You're like, fuck.
You're like, well, all right, well, nobody knows, and I said I was. So,
yeah.
But if you just once you actually start walking that walk, you're like, oh damn, like this shit really does work.
Yeah.
Like I really do. Like everything's smooth,
Chilling.
And it really does. Like I don't even know how to explain it, man. But the more you do what you're supposed to do, like the more bountiful your blessings become, man.
Yeah.
I heard this. I was watching your podcast with that guy from Munchies. And he said one thing in that whole podcast that really gravitated with me, and I carried it throughout, because people get jealous of people in business, right? Like you're doing this, and next thing you know, they want to hate on you because they're saying, "Oh yeah, well he does that," and my quality. Dude, the sun shines for everybody.
Yeah.
Remember he said that? He's like, my dad told me the sun, and I remember his dad. I used to talk to his dad all the time.
That's
when I was
super
a kid
cool
too. His dad does like mountain bike. He's like a big mountain biker, right?
Yeah,
like
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he did like all these mountain biking expeditions. Yeah, I remember I used to talk to him when I was a kid. He was always impressed with it because I would come up with all these random Lexuses. And, I had a bunch of fancy cars when I was a kid. And he says, yeah, the sun shines for everybody. And that is so true, man.
Yeah.
Perfect example here. Like, how come that guy could sell 300 cars right there, and this guy could put up a building right next to him and still sell 150?
Yeah.
Like, he's not taking all the customers, bro. No. The sun shines for everybody. You just got to do. I always tell my kids, if you get up in the morning and you put your best foot forward and you make the right decision when you come to the Y in the road today.
Yeah.
Like, should I do this or the shortcut, or do I do the right way? And you make the right decisions, you'll never regret it. Like, things will always go good for you.
Yeah. I think it's just hard, huh?
It's hard because it's not the easy way, bro.
Yeah, it's not.
That's why it's hard. It's hard because it's not the easy way.
I have a hard time with obviously I believe in what he said, the sun shines for everybody, but it's like, we have, or I mean, at least I have, and I don't know if it's like our culture, but I have like the mentality of like, scarcity,
just like, oh, what if it runs out, kind of?
Yeah, like I literally feel like, well, we better strike while the iron's hot, like how long is this gonna last? I have
it's just because you're doing this. I mean, when I say new, you're still like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I'm new. I am new. Yeah,
but once you've been in it long enough, like I've been in the car business freaking
30 years or
ever. Yeah, I don't know, long time, man. I always spit out the number 25, 27 years, 28. I don't know. I've been there a long fucking time since I was 10 years old, man. I'm, gonna be there. I think as an owner for like 28 years now.
Damn.
Like when I became a partner with Larry, and then still there. So, but at the end of the day, dude, it's just about
you just like reinvent yourself and just keep going.
It's still tough, I'm human. Yeah. I still get pissed off at people. I still get road rage going down the road and stuff. And the guy's like, pull over. And I'm like, here, I'm right here. And then I'm like, pulled over. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'll never see that guy again if I get in my car and drive away, man.
Yeah.
I'll never see that guy again. Or I could sit here and probably pick up a case.
Yeah. Well, who knows,
let me just drive away, man. And I'll talk myself into driving away. But I'm still human. I'm still a hothead. And
whoever knows, like you might punch the guy and he gets really hurt. You never know.
Or you punch him and it ends up being your daughter's best friend dad at school, or some stupid. She just, my grandson. I go to my daughter, Alexis's son. Yeah. Go over there and I go to her house one day and he's like, I walk in his room. He's always got his homies there. He's got a little group of buddies. He's a little popular kid. I walk in the room. Hey, what's up, guys? I don't know. I'm like, what's up? What's your names? They're 12, 13 years old. I'm fist pumping, walk around talking their names. He's like, oh, my name's Dominique. You knocked my dad out before. I'm like, what? Dude.
You're like, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it was. And then I'm like, what? And then my grandson's like, oh, yeah, he said that, you beat up his dad when you were kids or whatever. But you guys are cool now. That he's your dad. You guys are cool now or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, It is embarrassing, bro. It's
Yeah,
not like I'm not. That stuff doesn't make me proud. I'm like, I'd rather my grandson said, "Oh yeah, I heard you did a 4-minute mile in high school or something." You know,
or you helped my dad out.
But I got those stories too. It's just I got a lot more of the other ones, and you know,
people bring up those other ones more.
Like my Noemi and Jordan and them, they'll hear. You know, I feel like they're in their 20s now.
Yeah.
So I feel like people are like, oh, your dad, oh, you're Frankie's kid. Oh, I remember your dad this or your dad that. And so they come at me with some stories sometimes, and I'm like, fuck, I don't even remember that. I don't remember. It's like that guy that I told you walked in my office and stuff. I don't, to this day, I don't remember that guy.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And he said I used to torture him and bully him. And I'm like, but yeah, I mean, I got a lot. I almost feel like I have to do it twice as much. I got to be twice as nice as the next guy and do twice as good, because I did twice as much as bad as the last guy, you know, like, so I got to try to, I'm that guy that's always trying to help the guy jump his car at Costco, or help the lady load her stuff that's too heavy, and I almost feel like, okay, man, I'm trying to pay back this debt this hole that I've done in society. I'm trying to fill this hole back up, you know, like, and maybe it never gets filled. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't, but as long as you keep doing that good, I don't see anything bad. That's got to be something good that came of it.
No, and I think people's perception is changing. And I mean, I obviously I hang out with some of the guys that you grew up with, and, you know, they're all like, man, you know, it's good to see your primo, you know, where he's at in life. Like, you know, just as a person and financially, like, you know, not everybody has taken advantage of their opportunities like you have. So, you know, they're doing good, but not like you. And so they're just like proud to see where you're at. You
get some people be proud, and you could tell those people, but you get a lot of haters too, man. Like, especially I can't tell you how many times I've heard that I sell drugs. I'm like, I don't even know what fucking, like, the drugs that are out there. I don't even, the drugs that people are selling today, I swear to God, I don't even know what that shit looks like.
Yeah.
I've never, like,
they're probably all just pills now.
Ice or meth, whatever it is freaking nowadays.
Spice, people yelling at themselves.
I never even know that ice or whatever the heck they're calling it now, or yellow, or I've never seen that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen it on TV, but it wasn't around in my time. Like, that shit wasn't, or this fentanyl.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that stuff was. Like, I could take one of those pills if it looked like a leaf, because
it probably does.
I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just, you know, there's always going to be haters that, because when you're doing good, they got to have a reason why you're doing better than them.
Yeah. Or they're just like, well, why him? Why not me?
Yeah. And then
but they don't see their actions.
And you see it a lot of people. I remember growing up, I would hang out with a lot of my buddies that were farmers, and they got, you know, more money. People would, like, the guys that I knew from the hood would always hate on them.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, those guys were like, they always like were a lot more comfortable going out when they were with me, because they knew they were going to get fucked with, like, and it's just a bunch of hater bullies, basically jealous because you got a nicer car, you got a nicer girlfriend, you got more money than they do, and
they just want to
But I kind of remember that, because I explained that to you at the beginning. Like, I was that guy. Like, I always felt like, okay, you got all that more than me, but I could kick your ass.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mentality that some of those guys got.
Like the hood mentality.
You little fresa, you little spoiled brat. You don't know what it is. Like, you don't know what.
I'll still kick your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were at the lake, and I was with a bunch of buddies on a boat, and one of my farmer buddies was coming up in his $200,000 boat, came, you know, cruising up, and he was going to tie up with us. And the guy in the boat next to us goes, "Look at that fucking pussy. He is a spoiled brat. He don't know what it is to hustle. He don't know. Like, he give everything got given to him. He don't know." I'm like, "Hey, bro, that's my compa. Like, that guy that's well, like, you don't know that guy. It's my compa. Like, you don't."
Yeah.
And then we ended up
getting into a competition.
But but yeah, people just hate on people for no reason. Like, you don't even know the guy, man, and you hate on him because of his financial status or something. Like,
yeah, what if, you know, yeah.
I'm like, I've always been like, let me hang out with you. Let me see, how did you get there, dude? Like, what are you doing? Like, I've always had the mentality that, well, I know you're not smarter than me. Like, I can do whatever you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
Just let me see what you're doing for a day, 15 minutes or something. I can duplicate that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you just got to find your realm. Like, where is your comfort zone? Where, okay, I could do that. I remember when you were working for Toyota and you bought your first drone, and it was just a toy at first, right? You just bought it like as a toy. And then you're like, oh, you started making these cool little videos with it, and then you were doing it for your own, like
my own presentations on cars, and
then I remember you used to tell me like, you're like, I want to own a used car lot someday.
Yeah,
I want to own a used car lot someday.
You know, the funny thing is like I probably have the credit for it now, but I couldn't imagine being sitting, because that's what I would have to do, and stuck at a location all day. Like, we'd leave.
Not just all day, for years.
For years. Like, and you have, if you're not there, you're not going to sell a car, right?
No.
Well, obviously you have people, but I wouldn't be in that spot. So I could probably do it now on credit. But I kind of, like, we leave, we go to different places, we meet different people, we go see beautiful homes.
And I remember even your dad came up to me and he told me,
but like,
one time, we were at a family barbecue or something, and your dad came up and he said, hey, you know, your little cousin, he's in car sales now. You need to take him and go. He should be over there working for you, and you show him, because he wants to own a car lot someday. And I remember telling my brother, your dad, I never told you this.
Yeah.
I remember telling your dad, I'm like, I don't think this business is for him. Like, I don't think this is what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, he's doing good. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, well, he'll make a living.
Yeah.
But this isn't what he's supposed to do. And it really is like, you'll see people that are in the car business and they do okay in it.
Yeah.
And they're in it for a long time and they fucking hate it.
I was that guy.
They hate it. And then there's other guys that do well with it and they're okay with it, but it's kind of like a corporate job to them. It's like these guys downstairs, they come in a tie, they got to show up in a tie, and then and then you got guys like me that have figured out how to run around in sweats and shorts and
go do some bid sales.
Yeah, I go do some auctions and some bid sales, and sometimes 2 or 3 times last week I was just driving down the street, and as a matter of fact, last week I was leaving Home Depot and I seen a truck for sale in the parking lot, and I bought it, and I took it to get detailed. It never made it to the car lot. At the detail shop, the guy bought it for $5,000 more than I paid for it.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, you know, it fits my persona. Like, it fits my personality. Like, I can easily bump into that guy at Home Depot and, hey, I'm like, oh shit, as a matter of fact, I happen to have that money in my pocket. You want to sell the truck right now? He's like, well, I'm like, well, just give you a ride home. I'll leave it here and I'll come pick it up later. And I just left it there in the parking lot and then came back with my detailer to get it. But, you know, it's
like natural.
Yeah. I belong in
you're
the car
just living
business.
your life.
I belong in the car business.
You're not going to work.
I remember when I was gone, came back when I was like 20, and the old man Larry had a white guy there selling cars, and he says, come help him out today or whatever. I'm going to come help him sell cars. And I was there for like an hour. I sold the car right away. Boom. Sold a little Bronco. And I sat the people down, signed them up, sent them off. And I remember the white guy looked at me. He says, you're a natural. Yeah. He goes, when was the last time? I said, I haven't sold cars. I haven't been here since I was like 16. He goes, oh, you're a natural. He goes, you'll never get out of the car business. Mark my words. You'll be in the car business the rest of your life. I'm like, you're fucking crazy. I ain't going to do this forever. Like,
yeah.
You know, and at the time I was 21, 22. And here I'm sitting, you know, freaking 25 years later, and I'm still
freaking selling cars.
Still there.
Technically.
But it's been a good business, and my business is more evolved a little more into we obviously sell cars, but I'm more into the finance now.
Yeah.
Like buying paper and finance and carrying paper and stuff. That's where I make more money. And that's kind of where I want to turn eventually into. And like I said, eventually what I would like to do is give somebody the opportunity that Larry gave me. And what he did with me is he said, quit your other job. When I was working for Kraft Foods, he said, quit your other job, come to work full time. I'm going to give you run the store, you buy the cars, you sell them, you handle the financing, you do everything. I'm going to give you half of what the store makes. So you'll be a 50% owner. But out of that, I'm only going to give you $3,000 a month. And everything over that $3,000 is going to go towards buying me out.
Oh shit.
So
you were slaving for $3,000 a month.
Yeah, for 7 years I was just making, I was making 20, 30 grand a month, but I was only seeing 3 of it because he was keeping the other. And then every time I would get within like 100, 150,000 of buying him out, boom, he would go buy 200,000 more of inventory, 100,000 more of inventory, which at first I was like, oh, cool, because now we're getting all this more inventory, But then you get to a point where you got $1 million in inventory, like, hey, like, dude,
I'm never gonna get it.
Like, I don't need no more inventory. We're good. Like, you need to stop buying inventory, and I'm just gonna buy you out now. And at that time, he was 88, and I remember sitting him down, and I'm like, look, Larry, I'm a grown man now, man. I'm not a kid no more. Like, I got a family. I need to be able to own this place and do this myself.
Yeah.
And I remember he looked at me and he goes, okay, we'll write up the paperwork and we'll do it. Like, he agreed with me, you know what I mean? He was like,
yeah.
I kind of made sense to him in the way I said it. And it was weird because we used to go at it all the time, man.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s. I thought I knew everything. He was in his 80s. He really did know everything, but I was trying to argue with him all the time because I'm a fucking hardhead and that's what I do.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that man was a godsend to me, man. He really, I definitely somewhere in life, I have to pay it forward what he did for me.
Yeah.
Like I owe that to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I
got to pay it forward. I got to try to, and I do it a lot. I try with, I get these like guys from the neighborhood that I catch sleeping in cars out back and that, because we got those trade-ins that we put in that dirt lot in the corner. And I'll catch guys sleeping in there a lot of times. And I'm like, a couple of them, I took them out of there and, gave them a job. And then within a couple of years, they got cars, a wife, a house. He was doing good. And then one guy worked for me for like 4 years. I got him out of a car, straightened him out, and then, had him on a path. But then he unfortunately fell back into his addiction again. But I'm constantly trying to figure out one of those people, man. And
somebody.
Yeah. It's got to be somebody who wants it, though, man. Yeah. You can't force that on somebody. I got family members, that, people are like, well, why don't you go help your nephew? Or why don't you go? Well, because they don't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
I need somebody that I'm going to help somebody that I see is worthy of it because they're actually putting the effort forward and they want to do it,
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, gosh, we've been talking a lot. We never even got into the lowrider scene.
I know we're gonna do another one. I feel like we got. I feel like you have a lot. I feel like we just gotta do this like once a month. We gotta do Frankie Fridays,
like Vlad and Boozy or what?
Yeah. He's like, come on, man.
Man, Boozy again,
dude. That guy is funny.
Yeah.
We gotta do Frankie Fridays.
I gotta be cautious about.
Yeah.
I don't want to like. There's a lot more I could come out and say or whatever, dude. But I'm like, dude,
people are
gonna get all butthurt. People are gonna, I don't want.
Some people are probably looking for a reason to be mad at you.
Yeah.
So it's.
I mean, I wouldn't mention no names.
Yeah,
and if I mentioned your name in this, like that Miguel Gavanga, it's because I did it on purpose. I was like, you're a dirtbag.
Yeah,
like,
that
and
guy.
People need to know, like, if you're in their backyard, you're probably stealing.
He probably has an Obama phone though, so he could probably get this on iTunes. So I would say, lastly, since you are an entrepreneur, self-made millionaire, whether it's in liquid or in assets, who knows?
Both.
Which is, I mean, I think that's, I don't know, Jordan. I think that's pretty fucking badass. But something definitely, I'm sure both of us aspire to be one day. What advice would you give somebody? And I want to. Like is an entrepreneur and still barely starting, or have been doing it for a little bit, or like what is some advice you give them, like just to never quit, or
all these fucking tags are so cliche.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot.
Like, oh, you got to keep going. It gets tough. Tough get going when the road going gets tough. Or I mean, you got all these cliche answers that you can say, and everybody's heard all those 1,000 times.
Yeah,
but the truth of it is, I think the biggest thing that I've found out, and I wish I would have known this a long time ago, is as long as you do the right thing when nobody's looking, things are always going to go good for you.
Integrity.
That's it, bro. Because that shit carries a long way. And I always tell my kids, like, you don't know who's looking. Like, my son's working at SpaceX, right?
Yeah.
And I tell him, you need to be the first guy there, the last guy work the hardest. Yeah. I don't give a shit. You think nobody's there and nobody's watching you? I promise you somebody's watching, bro.
Yeah.
And it might not be a boss or whatever, but that guy is going to one day have the boss's ear, or that boss is going to come across a video of you or something, and that shit's going to pay off. Same thing goes for being lazy, like always trying to do the bare minimum and drag ass, and you're only working if somebody's watching. It's going to carry you through, but you're not going to get ahead. Yeah. You're never going to be the upper management.
Yeah.
Those people that you see that are running companies or whatever, it's because they stayed there a long time. They didn't go jumping job to job.
Yeah.
You got to the grass isn't always greener on the other side, man.
I learned that.
The car business is the worst, right? These guys, everybody, I'm Saturday at 4. They sell no cars this month. I'm going to Toyota.
I've been blessed with opportunity.
And the only guys that you see really successful in the car business are who?
The ones that stay.
The ones that have been there. Kurt Rodriguez, killing it, making way over 6 figures, been there 20-something years.
Built a book of business.
All these guys, that have been there years are the guys that are killing it. Yeah. That got really good jobs and are in really good positions. But they're guys that carry their integrity in their work, and they've done what they're supposed to when nobody's looking. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is, and the other thing is, you can't get discouraged because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
It's gonna happen, bro.
Yeah.
It just takes time, man. It takes a lot of time to get to where, like, I'm finally sitting here saying, "Oh, fuck, my house is paid for." I couldn't have said that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, even no matter how good I was doing, I just barely bought in the houses. It wasn't. Yeah. So, I think, like, you for one, do the right thing when nobody's looking. Keep integrity, like, keep your word, man. It means a lot. Like, that shit carries. Like, you run into people in life and stuff now, and even just their reputation as a human being. Like, oh no, that guy's solid. If he told you he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. Like, what about that painter, man? I'm gonna take it to this. Oh, dude, don't take it to that guy, because everybody. What about this guy? Oh yeah, everybody that takes his car to him, he gets it back, and if he says he's gonna give it to you in 3 months, like, that shit carries weight, man.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
You don't think so as you're walking through life, but that carries weight, because that's what gets the mum going, and that's what keeps people talking good about you, and people talking good about you is what is going to bring you all these opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's like, trips out there, you're my cousin, everybody knows about RP3 now.
Yeah. And
everybody's like, oh yeah, that's my little cousin. Like, oh yeah, it is. Oh man, that guy's killing it. He's freaking all his videos and this and that. And it took time, man. Like, when you first started this 5 or 6 years ago, nobody was talking about you yet.
Nah, man, I was doing videos for like $50 and anything. And then, but the thing that I trip out on is, and I'm sure you could relate to this, is that I had a vision of what I wanted, and like, and it's like weird, because sometimes I'm in here, I want to be more. I want more, obviously, responsibly, but I'm like, man, I can't fucking believe it. Like, it's fucking weird. But when you have a vision in your mind and you get there, it's not exactly what you thought it was gonna be. Isn't that weird? It's like, it's a little different than what you thought it was gonna be. But I don't know. I feel proud, but I also feel like that stress of like, fuck, I gotta keep it going. I don't think it's ever gonna go away.
Just speak it into existence. Yeah, man. Like, I promise you, as long as you keep fucking putting, even there might be some worst case scenario day, the economy crashes, whatever, and you won't, you got 3 employees now, you might only have 1 or whatever, but you're always gonna be in business and you're gonna do good as long as you keep doing exactly what you're doing now.
Yeah,
right, because you got. Like you said, he's, like I was saying, like, produce, economy goes bad, produce doesn't go bad, and you deal with a bunch of those guys.
Yeah, I know.
So you got a big car portfolio in your business, but so is produce. So if this one struggles, the next one's making up for it, and
I've already seen that during COVID.
Yeah, you just gotta you just be diligent. You do the right thing. You're putting out good work, good product. You're never going to be in need of customers. It's always just going to, especially in a town like this, like, you've created enough buzz about yourself where the only way you could kill it is if you start putting out bad news about yourself, right?
People.
Like, hey, this guy paid him for a wedding and he never showed up. Whoa. Or, stuff like that. Like, that stuff's hard to come back from, All right,
good talk.
All right.
And we'll do it again.
Yeah.
With some other topics.
Peace out.